Zero Season 3, Episode 11 starts now. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Brandon Davis, joined today by Jamie Jurack.
Good to be back. Hello.
Yeah, we just put together a rap right there. Jamie Jurack, good to be back. Talking smack. Marvel got us on crack. Jenna Anderson is here.
Hey, everybody. I am not even going to attempt to do that. Absolutely not. No rapping for me.
I'm so sorry for even doing it in the first place. Aaron Perrine is here.
How do I even follow that? Good morning, everyone.
We're actually one day going to have a fully freestyle raps only version of Phase Zero, from zero to hero. We're talking about the Oscars. Literally nothing rhymes with Oscars. There is nothing that rhymes with the word Oscar. If there was, my Marshall Mathers of a brain would have had it there. But I just couldn't get there. We gotta get started. We're gonna catch up on a lot of MCU news. I think we got like 39 topics to get through. Not really. We only have an hour. Thanks to Jenna for putting the run of show together today. You're gonna get a Jamie Jurack rant on today's episode of Phase Zero. That's gonna be at the top of the show. We got some bad Daredevil news, in my opinion. And a whole bunch of long quotes from people involved with the MCU to read to you. And another Jamie Jurack delight about Elizabeth Olsen to talk about. But we're saving that for last because we know you love Scarlet Witch, so we got to make you watch till the end. All right. Let's start with the Oscars, shall we? Let's talk about movies in general. I want to talk off topic real quick. I saw John Wick Chapter 4 for the second time last night. That is one of the best movies I have seen in a rotund minute. It is so good. And Shazam is in theaters this weekend. Listen, I know the DCEU is like, it's over. We don't know if any of this stuff is ending, is continuing. Doesn't matter. Shazam on its own is a good movie, and Jamie saw it too. I want Jamie to get a second to share her thoughts.
Keep an eye out. My review's coming out today at 3 Pacific time, and it's if you like the first one, you're gonna like this one. It's the Shazamly. I cried twice because the Shazamly just hits me in the feels. They're so cute. I really adored it. It was really sweet movie.
And I'll be honest, when it was over, I was like, I want this to continue.
I know. I tweeted James Gunn in it, so in that thought. So hopefully James Gunn saw my tweet.
I hope
he
so.
Probably did.
He did. What are we talking about?
James Gunn it's actually a little known fact. James Gunn has a Twitter. He's got an Elon Musk chip in his brain where Twitter is just constantly updating because everything that is always on Twitter somehow. I'm gonna have to hit up Kofi because I got a whole rant about the DC universe about how I am excited about James Gunn and what they're doing, but after Shazam and after Black Adam and some of the recent and Peacemaker, I was pretty excited about where they were going. Like it felt like they were finding what they were doing, but that's a DC show and this is a Marvel show, so we're not allowed to talk about that for too long here, or Jim starts rattling the jail cell cage. So let's talk about the Oscars. We could talk about whatever you want here because there's a lot to talk about, but we got to talk about the fact that Black Panther: Wakanda Forever won. Ruth E. Carter won again, right? Ruth Carter won for the first Black Panther with costume design, and now Wakanda Forever is an Academy Award-winning film for costume design. The costumes in that film are tremendous. Ruth E. Carter is incredible. But the big conversation everybody's having after this one was early on in the Oscars. I think Angela Bassett is also having this conversation. If you watched her reaction to this, she feels similarly to me, I think. I don't know about how, I haven't talked to you guys about this yet. But Best Supporting Actress went to Jamie Lee Curtis. I think Jamie Lee Curtis is fantastic. And it's like, wait a second, how did it take this long for her to get an Oscar in the first place? She's great, right? But she got to hear it. I don't know. No shade to Jamie Lee, but I am kind of like, has she not given everything? That's where I'm at. What else could Angela Bassett have given? I think I wanted it to go to Angela Bassett as a fan of her and a fan of Ramonda in this movie. I love Everything Everywhere. But to me, Jamie Lee might not have even been the Best Supporting Actress in that movie. That's my thoughts. So I'll let you. I don't know if we want Jamie to go first here or if we want to save her for put her in the canon to go fourth. But whoever wants to talk about this, please go ahead.
Do you want Jamie? Jamie, do you want a second to collect yourself, or do you want to go first?
I mean, I have my thoughts ready and
going. All right.
Go.
Let's just do it. Let's just get this out of the way. First and foremost, let me tell you one thing, world. I adore Jamie Lee Curtis. I was named after Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm a huge Halloween fan. I plan to get a True Lies tattoo of her in the iconic dress. She is amazing. I adore her. She was not even the best supporting actress of her own movie. I do not understand this decision at all. First of all, if you're Everything Ever All at Once was my favorite movie of the year. I love The Sweep. I'm so happy it won Best Picture. But if you're dedicated to The Sweep, Stephanie Hsu is right there. She was such an emotional, amazing point of this film. And I love when the Oscars award a comedic performance, which is what Jamie Lee Curtis did. But Stephanie Hsu was right there. But here's the thing. Okay, Stephanie's young. She's going to have her chance again. We're talking, okay, we want to do a career Oscar, give it to Jamie Lee. I would understand that if Angela Bassett wasn't right there. First of all, both women are 64 years old. So it's not like one's older going around somewhere. Here's the main difference between Angela Bassett and Jamie Lee Curtis. Angela Bassett's been nominated for an Oscar before. So if it's time to give somebody an Oscar that's long overdue, why aren't we giving it to Angela Bassett? I just don't understand this decision at all. And I don't know, it's a little shady. It all just like doesn't play out right to me. I think it's weird. I don't like being unhappy about a Jamie Lee Curtis win because I love Jamie Lee Curtis. But Angela, okay, even if you're stacking up these two careers, I would say maybe that Jamie Lee Curtis is more iconic in some ways in terms of like she's got Halloween. There are these big giant things. But if you're stacking up just their performance careers, Angela Bassett has given everything, as BD said. She has given such emotional range in her life. And again, Jamie Lee Curtis, amazing. I love her. I don't like that this rant is existing. But anyway, this was sad, this one thing, but everything else I was pretty happy with in terms of the Academy Awards. And BD basically said everything I just said, just I said it louder and angrier. So
I mean, you certainly articulated it better than I did. I think I agree with everything you said. And it's like, it felt weird because I wanted to go on Twitter and say that I think Angela Bassett should have won. Not only did I want her to win, I think she should have. But I didn't want to shade Jamie Lee Curtis, and I was just afraid that if I said anything bad about Jamie Lee, because I think everybody really loves Jamie Lee Curtis. It's just like, this is a weird position to be in because I just didn't want this particular award to be hers because I didn't think this was the one she deserved. Jenna, what do you think about this?
There's a reason why when that moment happened, I just tweeted the Andrew Garfield grimacing from 20 minutes earlier in the show. Some people got what I was going for, some people didn't, but that's exactly what BD said. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. In my mind, spiritually, she just won this Oscar for Freaky Friday because that movie was my personality as a kid. But it is just such a weird thing. She's not necessarily the best supporting actress of her own movie. And after Angela won so many awards in this cycle, it felt like such a lock. And just the whiplash between Kiwi Kwan winning and then Jamie Lee Curtis winning was just the highest highs and then just something else. It was so weird. But I agree with what Jamie said. Other than that, the Oscars were great. It was just such a bizarre moment.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I watched the whole show and I haven't watched the whole Oscars in a minute. Aaron, what do you think of this?
It was interesting because, like Jenna said, the hilarious tonal whiplash that no matter what, you change the format, you bring out a donkey, no matter what, you're going to get one of these weird moments where something weird happens right after something awesome because we were all crying in our living rooms after his speech. And then afterwards, you're like, what? Shout out to Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors kind of holding it down for her afterwards. That was really nice. Of course, segments of Black Twitter really enjoyed that. But yeah, there's a lot of weirdness going on. Jenna, they locked out your boy. Your boy didn't get anything. How did he not get anything?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that also because I saw Jamie's tweet and I was like, I don't want Jamie to hate Austin Butler forever. It's the same thing as Stephanie of Austin Butler will eventually win an Oscar and I'm okay with that. But Brendan Fraser, it is kind of the career Oscar thing of it was nice in this narrative that Brendan Fraser won it, even as problematic as his movie is. So it was just such a weird and interesting and still nice Oscars. It was just such a unique experience, I feel like.
I'm just sick of biopic wins. That was not anti-Austin Butler. He's very good as Elvis. I just do not want to see any more biopic wins for a while. I'm so over it. Fair. My least favorite Oscar win is Rami Malek, and I just don't need that in my brain for a while. So
I thought it was a good show. I thought before Rihanna performed, they needed the stage. So the Avatar, The Way of Water VFX team, which truly accomplished one of the most incredible things in filmmaking last year. They really did. Well, I know, Jamie, but there's no denying the astounding visual effort of Avatar. And they got 5 seconds on that dang microphone and the second guy in the VFX team came up to thank his family, and they were the RRR guys came out and started dancing him off the stage. They played them, not really, but they played that music so fast. And I just so Jimmy Kimmel could tell some really not so great jokes, really because they needed the stage. I just felt bad for those guys because I was like, damn, they really did have one of the most impressive, incredible feats at the movies in 2022, and they got like all of 30 seconds before we had to listen to Matt Damon jokes in the crowd. But yeah, no, the Oscars were interesting. I thought it was a fun show. I enjoyed watching it. I do think they need a stunt category. They desperately need.
Yes, they do. And like Top Gun Maverick deserved that for sure.
And this year you're going to have John Wick and Mission Impossible both pushing for stuff like that. It's just like, come on. You want us to watch it? That's some interesting categories that also deserve to be there.
If you haven't watched yet, there's like a 9 to 11 minute short video. It's on YouTube. That was The Dead Reckoning. It was like, I think it came out before Avatar IMAX. And it's just like this whole behind the scenes thing about this stunt that Tom Cruise does in the new Mission Impossible. I've watched it like 5 times. It is the most insane thing you will ever watch. And like that kind of dedication deserves an Oscar category. I also want to shout out the Oscars for some of their perfect pairings. Elizabeth Olsen and Pedro Pascal on stage together. Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield on stage together. They knew what they were doing.
They were appealing to us. All right, well, that's our Oscars talk. I believe there will probably be some more Oscars chatter on Comic Book Nation on Friday, which is on the comicbook.com YouTube channel and the comicbook.com Twitch channel and every major podcast platform, just like Phase Zero is. So go give Kofi, Matt, Connor, and Janelle a listen if you are looking for more Oscars chat and DC chat, like we mentioned at the top of the show. But we got some more Marvel news to get to, so let's get to it.
Yeah, so kind of going into news that's a little controversial, depending on what parts of Twitter you look at. We got some updates for Daredevil Born Again. The premiere episode will be directed by Michael Cuesta, who has done the pilots for Dexter and Homeland and Elementary and a bunch of other shows. But buried in the Hollywood Reporter's reporting of this was the news that Sandrine Holt, who we knew was cast on the show, but we didn't know who she was playing, is playing Vanessa Fisk, reportedly. And she'll be replacing Ayelet Zur, who played her in the Netflix show. So after this and the Karen and Foggy news from last week, Daredevil Twitter's kind of on fire because it's like, oh no, people are recast and like this is maybe not Netflix canon anymore. I personally think it could have been a number of things. It could just be a thing of maybe the original actress wasn't necessarily available and they recast. And because I'm assuming, given how much Kingpin's probably going to be involved with the show, they probably needed Vanessa for a stretch of time in this very long shoot. So that could have been a factor of it. I don't know. I like Sandrine Holt as an actor, so I'm curious to see how she takes this role. But what do you guys think?
I mean, the non-canon war is being won, which, for better or worse, I'm kind of just at a point where today, maybe I'm just sleepy today, but I just don't really care anymore. Like, I'm like, come on, man. I'm so upset that you see how fired up I get on this show, and I'm like, just answer the question. They won't answer the question. Maybe this show will, but it could be a, Terrence Howard, Don Cheadle situation. It could be a Ben Affleck, Charlie Cox situation. We just don't know yet what kind of recasting this is in terms of the role coming back. I think it's kind of a bummer. Iconic moments. Do not embarrass that man in front of this new actress. That's all I got to say.
I feel like I am totally fine with this being a new universe, whatever. I just tell us. It seems that's what's happening. If you're not bringing back the other two, if you're recasting this role, that just seems to be where it's going. So why not just let us know? I just don't understand why this is a problem. It's fine. Just use your mouth words, Kevin, and speak big boy words and tell us the truth. We can handle it.
I really feel like some damage control would go a long way for the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, because I'll never forget this. I asked Feige in our interview at Comic-Con, what did you learn from Phase 4, everything that's been released so far? And I was really hoping he'd say something about the interviews they do, because I'll never forget that WandaVision tease of the Luke Skywalker level cameo and Paul Bettany just trolling us all, saying he got to act with an actor he always wanted to act with. It set the expectations crazy. And yes, you want high expectations for your shows, absolutely. But at some point, there's a difference between the audience building their own expectations. Like we all had these Mephisto and Magneto's going to show up, whatever. That's on us. That's fully. But when you have actors talking about this kind of stuff, and the expectation can be set without hindering the viewing experience, you can only enhance it by letting us know what we're watching. Just let us know. It'll help. We're getting tired. We're getting tired. Just tell us what's happening.
See, my only thing with that is like I agree that they should just definitively say they should use their mouth words, as Jamie eloquently put it. But like I feel like they're worried that if they do that, then they're probably going to alienate some of the very, very diehard fans who only want this to be truly Netflix canon. I think the real answer is going to be somewhere in the middle. Parts of it will be canon, parts of it won't be. That's just how comics works. That's how superhero stories work. But I think like this fandom seems to be having like an interesting relationship with that. So as much as I wish they would say it, I don't think they're going to say it even as the show's coming out.
I mean, I don't think they will either, but it's 2023. This isn't the 90s. You're not Michael Jordan. You can't just say, well, you know, non-Netflix fans watch Disney Plus too. So I think you got to realize, like, let's just give us a ruling, pick a side here, tell us which one it is. I don't know. I think I see some thoughts on Aaron's face. He wants to use his mouth words.
I'm going to keep it brief because we don't have time. But yeah, I'm with Jamie where I really like. I'm sorry. Think about how much has happened in all of our lives since freaking Daredevil was on. Like, these actors weren't just sitting around by the phone. Like, she's not sitting on a dock in a tattered wedding dress waiting for Kevin Feige to call her back. Like, that's not what goes on. Everybody moved on to do different things. Like, they had to put food on the table in between this and what was before. Like, were we all expecting them all? Like, we just put Charlie Cox in a cryogenic stasis until Born Again was announced, and then we put him out like Fry from freaking Futurama. Like, what is everybody expecting? I really do think we do play ourselves a ton. I think we really do. I think that certain things that happen on the internet today, or this week, that I don't think is in the rundown when I'm talking about is the Reddit getting shut down, might not be the worst thing in the world. I think that might actually help some of you because the constant stuff about these movies has gotten to be like, okay, just go into the movie, man.
Did we even include that in our rundown?
I did not because I was not sure whether or not we could talk about it. I definitely
endorsed
talking about it though because
Yeah, we could acknowledge that real quick. So apparently, and this is the short version, not because I don't have the info pulled up. Apparently, Marvel Studios is like going to court trying to subpoena the Reddit community to find out who leaked the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania script before the movie released, which just goes to show that Feige meme is real. That man is hunting down the leakers, and they're going to figure it out. Ooh-wee! So that's what's going on there. But yeah, all right, let's keep moving. We got a lot to talk about today.
Okay, so we got Guardian. Is it? Oh, Jamie, is it you?
Oh yeah, I got some news first. And it's that a new Marvel hero is debuting in What If Season 2. This is really cool and exciting. Kahorti, I believe, is the name, but we'll wait to hear it out in the world at one point. A Mohawk hero who is in the world where the Tesseract fell to Earth and landed in the sovereign Haudenosaunee Confederacy before the colonization of America. So it kind of sounds like Prey. Which is awesome. I'm really excited about this. Speaking of, Amber Midthunder did tweet about like, oh, this is cool. So I'm already like casting this live action role, and it's her. This sounds so cool. And like, it's cool to be excited about What If. Didn't see that coming. What do you guys think?
I completely agree. Like being this has me more excited than like any of season 1 and like whatever we've heard about season 2 combined. The fact that this is not even a comic character, like this is entirely a new concept, and the concept itself is so cool and so inherently MCU. Like I am very on board with this. I agree. I hope she shows up in live action because that'll just be very cool to see. It's funny how this kind of got spoiled by like a Funko toy. Like it was a soda figure that like came out. Obviously the show does not have a release date yet, and then this was already coming out and people are like, well, who the heck is this character? And then they like officially announced it. So I'm very on board with this. I love her already. I think this is very cool.
I always thought the MCU would get to this point, and it's super exciting to see it actually to a point where there would be heroes that sprung out of this that weren't established before. And now that's my most anticipated episode of season 2 because I just want to see what they got cooking. They got people from Mohawk Nation to consult and like do all the stuff. So I'm all for that. That sounds great.
What If Season 2, number 1 on Aaron's most anticipated 2023.
Oh man, we're in a weird timeline.
Yeah, well. I mean, will it come in 2023? Who knows? They don't
I would say 24 at the earliest. I don't know anymore.
Why put out the press release if we're not going to get it this year? I'm so confused. Maybe it was just the Funko stuff. I don't know.
Maybe they're confused too. Maybe they don't even know. But eventually, we will see it.
5 seconds after we get off. They're just going to release it. It's just going to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah, you know, as soon as the show ends, Hollywood
Yep.
Reporter is going to drop a whole scoop exactly who Steven Yeun is playing. The Punisher season 3 on Disney Plus. All right, one movie we can talk about is Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
All right, we got some ratings information for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We got PG-13 for intense sequences of violence and action, strong language, somewhere Chris Evans is scandalized, suggestive drug references, and thematic elements. So there's a lot going on. And it also sounds a lot like a James Gunn movie.
It really does.
Yeah.
Sounds about as PG-13 as you could make it. Like,
Yeah.
we'll see.
I will say, like, back to the concept, like the topic of like the subreddit getting shut down. If that now makes it more difficult to spoil Volume 3, I am so here for it. I am very happy. I want to know nothing about that movie until I see it, and every MCU movie has made that more difficult. So if we can go into this unspoiled, I will be over the moon.
Yeah, I feel like this one is going to become a minefield on social media, which, like, I'll take a little break if I have to, because I do not want to have this movie ruined for me. Every time, like, I have like, I'm sure you guys have this too, interest in working in this industry. I'll have like friends who sometimes know things, and like some of them are here in this office and watching today's show. You know who you are. And they'll come to me, they're like, you want to hear a thing about this movie and the thing that happens with you? I'm like, no. No, not Guardians. You shut your mouth right now. You know who I know you're watching. Don't spoil this for me. I had to get that message out there. Send it to a certain jail cell. All right. We're gonna take a quick break. He's commenting right now in the comment section. Yes. Yeah, Jim. Nah, at least I'll just name you. It's Jim. Oh, hold on, Jim. I'm going to drop a comment. You drop the comment. Can I tell a story about, I won't get into specifics. What? You know what I'm talking about. Can I tell that story on the show? We'll see. It's a little
Watch him not know what you're talking about at all.
Yes, we got to
said
yes.
Okay, so I'll just tell it now. So me and Jim were sitting at a bagel shop here in Nashville one day. And we're talking about a movie. We're kind of swapping things we know about one of the Marvel movies. One movie. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't really mind, because I'm just so curious that the curiosity was getting the best of me. And I was like, sharing things I heard about it, many of which turned out to be true. He's sharing things he heard about it, many of which turned out to be true. One of them was we both knew about a cameo in this movie. We told each other about it. I'm not going to get into specifics, but so he says, we're talking about one movie, and I have given him the okay to talk about this movie with me. And then he said, can I show you something? So I said, yeah, sure. Show me. Hey, what is it? He said, it's really cool, but you can't. You want to see this? Yeah. Pulls out his phone, shows me a photo. Major spoiler from a completely different movie. Major spoiler, completely robbed me. And if you all understood what I was talking about, you would understand the gravity of this. I immediately, I stepped him off his bar stool and I said, Jim, his iPhone broke into a million pieces. Oh gosh. It was my goodness, Jim. But yeah. And it was like a spoiler that like had part of it blacked out. So I couldn't really see the whole thing, but I knew something was, I'm being so vague. I know this is terrible. I'm just like, I didn't mean to tease everybody. I just had to tell you what it's like to have to work with Jim. Okay. This is my life. And I'll tell you right now, if he shows me anything from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it's on. We'll be back in 1 minute for more Phase Zero. Welcome back to Phase Zero, where you have now learned just how many things we have to hold back and protect you from on the spoiler front. We do it for the love of the game, and because if we did, Disney would never invite us to everything ever again if we spoiled it for you. But I don't want to do that anyway. I hate having things spoiled for me. Beatty here, Jenna, Aaron, Jamie are all here. We got some more MCU news, lots of quotes. We're going to talk about Thunderbolts first in the second half of the show. Steven Yeun, the man has broke his silence about joining the Thunderbolts. In an interview with Empire, this is what Glenn Rhee had to say. Quote, I don't know if it was explicitly on my bucket list, joining the MCU, I assume. It was more of the story, getting to work with Jake Schreier again, who directed Beef, and what his intentions were. The intentions of the particular character that they wanted me to play were very clear, and that's what drew me to the film. And he also said that there is a strict rule, no baseball bats allowed on set. So that's just a thing that they're doing there on Thunderbolts. I had a dream last night that I got to be like a production assistant on Thunderbolts. It was really weird, but in the dream, Steven Yeun was playing Sentry, so I think I'm a prophet. So yeah, he's playing Sentry, right?
I know Peter is still on the Speedball train, so we still have to keep that dream alive just a small amount. But yeah, the Beef trailer apparently came out like while we've been doing this show, so I'm very excited to see that and see Steven and Jake's collaboration. But yeah, I echo what I said last week. I still can't believe he's joining the MCU. Just awesome.
Yeah. I think Steven Yeun's awesome. I still don't think he's reached the peak of his career, so I'm really excited to see him keep going. And I feel like Marvel work, like if you look at Jonathan Majors and a lot of people like that, like whether it's Jonathan, Steven Yeun, different people who are joining the MCU, David Harbour. I feel like Marvel is like now becoming like kind of just consistent work. You get paid really well. You get blasted into celebrity. And it's a thing that like opens up doors. Because I'm looking at Jonathan Majors and I'm like, okay, so he talked about how Quantumania wasn't super well received, but he was. And now he gets to do Kang Dynasty while he's also doing movies like Creed and Magazine Dreams and like the people who want to be real, true artists, And, I'm not saying Marvel work is not like art. It's their Magazine Dreams, though, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania are going to be very different movies. So I look at him like, man, look at Jonathan Majors. This man just secured the bag for like 3 to 4 years of work with Marvel. Then he gets to put Kang behind him. And then the doors that is probably going to open up. And I hope it's similar for Steven Yeun. I think that not that Steven Yeun needs Marvel to go get new opportunities, but joining Thunderbolts, being put, in the spotlight of the Marvel universe now, every interview he does is going to get a little bit more traction because all these websites are going to pick it up. The whole new audience is going to start reading them. And Steven Yeun is after The Walking Dead. He's been kind of quiet. He's been very successful, but a little bit more quietly. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see. I hope that this really helps Steven Yeun. I really don't think this guy has reached the peak of his career. Same way I don't think Jonathan Majors has. Like, we're in the Jonathan Majors moment right now, but I still think the best is yet to come from him. So I'm excited for Steve. All that to say, I'm excited for Steven Yeun being in Thunderbolts and playing Jim's second favorite character, Sentry.
Is the theme of the Multiverse Saga really just bring all Jim's favorites into the MCU? Because that's what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah, and just keep hating Brandon. Kill off Brandon's favorite movie hero at the end of the Infinity Saga and never bring his favorite comic hero. Just keep delaying it. But tell him there's immediate potential back in 2018, but then never do anything with it. It hurts. I just want to know who bought Avengers Tower.
Jenna, help him feel better, please.
Yeah, so talking about characters that do exist that Brandon can love. Bob Iger was at Morgan Stanley's 2023 Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference, and he had a really big quote about the Avengers roster. He said, Marvel, there were 7,000 characters. There are a lot more stories to tell. What we have to look at Marvel is not necessarily the volume of Marvel storytelling, but how many times we go back to the well on certain characters. Sequels typically work well for us. Do we need a third or a fourth, or is it time to turn to other characters? There's nothing in any way inherently off in terms of the Marvel brand. I think we just have to look at what characters or stories we're mining. And if you look at the trajectory of Marvel over the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of newness. We're going to turn back to the Avengers franchise, but with a whole set of different Avengers. So maybe you do get Nova in that. Who knows?
That ain't happening. Nova is not going to be in Avengers 5, even though the movie would be better for it. I'll say that. But I do think Shang-Chi will be there, and that'll be great. We've had the conversation a million times. Who's on the roster? So, Aaron, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say that, like, I feel your pain. That's unfortunate, BD. You were like, it still will make it a better movie. Brandon shoot like cutting off his own arm with the samurai sword to preserve Kang Dynasty. You gotta appreciate that if you guys are watching. I think that maybe some 3s and 4s not happening might not be the worst thing in the world, because the roster is so large that by giving people 3s and 4s, it's like we don't see people. It's like giving mid-part Game of Thrones, where it's like, what's going on up the wall? Like, I want to know what's going on up there. Like, why are we haven't been over here in Winterfell forever? What's going on? Like, and I can't stand that. I'm sad that the next time we see Shang-Chi might literally be Kang Dynasty, which is very, very sad.
Well, that to me is not a 3 or 4s problem. That one of the good things about the Infinity Saga was we didn't have too many characters to be able to spend time with them as they went into these crossovers. We got 3 Iron Mans, 3 Caps, 3 Thors, 2 Ant-Mans, 2 Guardians. Like, now we have 1 She-Hulk, 1 Miss Marvel, 1 Moon Knight, 1 Shang-Chi, 1 Eternals with 49 characters in it. 1 this, 1 that, and then like Spider-Man 3 and Thor 4. So I personally think a little bit more time with a few less heroes would actually make us more invested, personally, because that's how it worked before. That's how it's working now. Just a little bit of time with everybody is just, I think that's why Bob Iger's getting asked this question in the first place and having to say things like the Marvel brand isn't inherently off right now. It kind of, like, I just don't think there's an argument against the fact that it kind of is. People, not as many people are watching all the Marvel stuff as they were 2 years ago. I think I don't think that's an opinion. I think the box office proves that. I think the fact that when a Disney Plus show releases and there's not a new, biggest premiere ever on Disney Plus every time a Marvel show releases now, which granted, the first 3 times it had to happen. It's the first, like, you're going to set a record every time something's new. But I don't know. I would like to, I like 3s and 4s. Now, that doesn't mean don't give us the new stuff. Just find a better way to balance it, in my opinion. I think maybe it was too few 3s and 4s early on, and now it's too many number 1s to keep up with for the general audience. Find that balance. I'm not Kevin Feige. There's a reason. I know. I don't know everything. Don't come for me. But that's all I'm saying.
This makes me so nervous for the X-Men, because it feels like you could literally do like 2 phases just of X-Men movies and X-Men spinoffs, and like you could cover as many characters as we already have. And so balancing the X-Men as well as whatever characters still stick around after Secret Wars, that is going to be such a challenge. Like, I don't envy them for having to figure that out.
I gotta say, I wonder if you would all feel the same if we hadn't wasted a whole outing. I'm gonna say wasted a whole outing with the Thor 4 and a 3rd Ant-Man movie for Ant-Man. Like, if one of those had been a team-up movie, like if there was just an Avengers at the end and it wasn't Wakanda Forever, and Wakanda Forever was the second to last movie, and the last one was an Avengers movie where they all had Kang back then, would we all feel differently?
Well, the things I'm
feel like you put that
put
Guardians, maybe we just didn't fire James Gunn, maybe we just didn't do that, and freaking Guardians happened earlier, maybe it would be different. I don't know. Well, this is all butterfly beating wings thing. I want a 2-hour introspective podcast about this rather than 15 minutes.
The things I'm most excited for in 2023 going into the year, Quantumania disappointed. It wasn't terrible, but it did disappoint me. Guardians 3, Quantumania, and Loki Season 2 are the things I'm most excited for this year. And those are things where I'm with characters that I'm already familiar with. If there was a Shang-Chi up there, I'd want to see him again. If, like, when we get Moon Knight again, I'll be really excited. We get She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, these characters that we already spent time with. That'll be great. But I think that I think it's a little too much new being blasted out, but that's good for the future because the foundation is laid. So now we get Season 2 or, Miss Marvel in the Marvels. Like the first season of Miss Marvel successfully made me more excited for the Marvels. So I like the sequel stuff that Marvel's doing. I think that I personally just believe too many number 1s on the shelf is going to result in not enough of them getting read, whereas people will go back to what's familiar and be more excited for characters they already know. Now, hopefully, people spend the time getting to know these characters.
I want to hear what Jamie has to say.
I think that the problem is like Thor 4 and Quantumania are for a lot of people just bottom tier movies and Marvel movies, and that has shifted the excitement about things. And I really think that when Guardians 3 comes out, it's going to get people excited for those threequels again, because it's going to be good. And I have no doubt in my brain. And James Gunn, you better not make me a liar. And because I agree, I think there should be a balance between introducing number ones, getting new, but we are in an era now. We're in phase 5 where we got a lot of number ones in phase 4. It's time to bring some of these people back. I want to see Moon Knight again. I want to see Shang-Chi again. And so let's figure it out. But like the thing that was so cool about Captain America Civil War was that it was just an Avengers movie. So, stuff like that.
Yeah, but if you didn't, the thing about Civil War, and I compliment Marcus and McFeely and the Russo brothers on this big time, is that one thing, I believe it was, I don't know if it was the directors or the writers who were saying this quote all the time, but they kept saying that everybody has a different favorite hero. I think it was Joe Russo who kept saying this. Everybody has a different favorite hero, so they all need a moment to shine. Civil War needed all of those characters to have moments leading up to Civil War. Same thing with Infinity War and Endgame. And we're not there with Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Like, we're going to check in with some of these characters again, but like, are we going to see Spider-Man again before Kang Dynasty? If he's in Kang Dynasty, are we going to see Shang-Chi again before, Kang Dynasty? Now, granted, one of the beautiful things about the first Avengers movie was that the only character we saw twice was Tony Stark. So all those were the first time teaming up. And like, I think, Hawkeye was in the first Thor. Natasha was in Iron Man 2. So there was a little bit of through line, and we're seeing it's very similar. Phase 4 is very similar to phase 1 in that regard, where there's new heroes and there's a little bit of crossover, and they're good. But I just feel like we not checking in with these characters, and it just feels, I don't know, it just feels like there's too much new and not enough familiarity.
I will also say, going off of that, I feel like the fact that half of these things are in the movies and half of them are on streaming also will make it much more interesting going into Kang Dynasty, because it's like, I know people who don't subscribe to Disney Plus, and so by the time to Kang Dynasty Secret Wars, they're not going to feel as much when Moon Knight and She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel show up, because they haven't seen the things that they were already in. So that is just kind of that's what has to happen when you split your stuff into streaming. But I'm very curious to see how they try to work to get people interested and invested in these characters when some of the audience has not or does not even remember watching their shows.
And I see a comment here from Damon Streams in the Twitch chat. We all remember that Civil War was phase 3, right? Yes, absolutely. Which means we had 3 Iron Man movies, 2 Thor movies. That was the 3rd Captain America movie, 2 Avengers movies, and who else? And I think that, okay, so that's all. Let's say that's all it was. And then you had Black Panther being introduced in that, and you had Scarlet Witch showing up after an appearance in Age of Ultron. Think of how much foundation was laid for those characters leading into Civil War. Do you feel like the same foundation, the same rich, long-running foundation that you feel you can connect to going into Civil War and Infinity War is going to be laid in time for Kang Dynasty with these characters? I personally don't right now. I hope so, but like, we're only going to see Shang-Chi maybe once. Maybe somehow Shang-Chi shows up in something again before Kang Dynasty. I look at the roster, I'm like, where? I don't know. Maybe the Marvels has a scene of Captain Marvel kicking ass with all the other heroes, and it's like, oh, wait, yeah, these are the people who are working together or something. I don't know, because I think Carol's going to be a leader in the Avengers, so it would be cool to see her leading Avengers in that movie for even just a moment before going off on her own mission. But I don't know. I just want to say, I don't know. Things are different. Things are changing. I don't like change. No, I'm just, yeah. I respect what Aaron was saying. I think we need these different opinions. I also think that we need the new heroes to get to what I'm saying in the first place. Like, without the things Aaron is championing right now, these 3s and 4s that I want to see won't even have the weight that I want them to have in the first place and be exciting. So I don't know. That's what I mean. I think it needs to be a balance. And I'm not known to be super rational, and Aaron's better at that than me. So.
Oh, no. Come on. 3D's plenty rational. I'd like to shout out Troy Francis McDonald in the comments that said Spider-Man and Batman are awesome. Yes, something we can all agree on. Absolutely. 100%.
Yes.
Speaking of changes, they got Spider-Man producer Amy Pascal teasing live-action Miles Morales. Now, those of you faithful Phase Zero listeners might remember a certain someone on this panel saying that Miles Morales would show up in Kang Dynasty and possibly Secret Wars, because what other universe are we going to kill to make people care? And people love Miles Morales. And here Empire is asking her, when are we going to see him in live action? Fans are going to have to wait a couple of years to see what we do. And if you follow the timeline of when those movies will come out, They're a few years away. That's wild. Wow. That's great. Wow.
Aaron just gets things right, man.
Yeah.
And also, if that was not bad enough, we're gonna see Spider-Man before Kang Dynasty. Well, she's doing her best to dodge the Tom Holland cameo allegations. She said, "I am not going to comment on anything around that," and laughed. And then she said, "But I can tell you that Tom Holland does love these Spider-Verse movies," and then let it trail off tantalizingly. So, a lot to do in Spider-Verse that maybe we thought might not be happening in that movie. Now, the canonicity of the Sony Spider-Verse is up for debate, and I think I'm being very, very nice saying that. What's your reaction to any of this?
I'm like, be more respectful about whether or not, Razzie award-winning Morbius is canon. Let's just be more respectful in that regard.
What about poor Michael Keaton?
He's still just stranded on that other Earth. I feel so bad.
That movie doesn't exist. That post-credit scene needs to continuity, and that post-credit scene needs to be revoked from our memories. We need a little Men in Black. Look right here. Get that. That post-credit scene was an atrocity. It should not exist. Who said that was okay?
I can't wait for Madam Web to get like 10 times weirder.
Madam Web. I think Madam Web could be a pretty good movie. I think there's a chance. It's got a great cast.
Good cast.
Listen, Jamie, I'm nothing if not hopeful. Okay, I'm optimistic because I'm gonna watch them anyway. I have to, and I want to.
That's fair. That's fair. We have to watch them. So.
Please, Craven, be decent, bro. It starts with you. It starts with you, Aaron Taylor Johnson. You were so good in Bullet Train. Keep the momentum of that Bullet Train going. Yes, I believe Miles Morales is going to be in live action, and I don't necessarily know if it's going to be a continuation of Spider-Verse. I'm torn on whether I want that because I do think these Spider-Verse movies are so fantastic on their own. That said, it's a character I love, so it would be interesting to see if they make the jump that way. But then it's more Sony and Disney having a dance together. Will they keep doing the tango? I don't know. And then we all got to watch a breakup happen through the Hollywood Reporter. It's just like. Can I go through it again?
But does this make you think that Tom's going to be in Across Spider-Verse?
I mean, we knew that they were going to have, they were planning to have all three of them in Into the Spider-Verse. And then they were like, oh, we can't do that for some surprise reason. And then we know what that reason was. So, I would be shocked if he's not in it in some sort of way. I feel like that seems to be what they're teasing.
I'll never forget when I remember this was the biggest story in 2019 was that Sony and Marvel Studios, their deal ended after Far From Home, and it was is there going to be another movie? Might have been 2018. I don't remember. I think it was 2019. But the deal was over. They broke up. They weren't doing another movie, and there was a week and a half period where there was no news on it. And I went to D23 in that week, and I was standing, and there was the preview night thing, and they had the theme park, all that stuff, and they had the Spider-Man from that very mediocre at best Spider-Man ride at Avengers Campus on display. The suit's awesome. The it's just the Spider-Man I think that is at Avengers Campus. And I'm standing there and I look up and Kevin Feige's standing right there. And it was the news story of the century was anything Spider-Man related. And I was like, Kevin Feige's right there. I was like, and I texted Jim. I was like, Jim, oh my God, Kevin Feige's here. Do I ask him about Spider-Man? I didn't do it because I didn't want to be that guy. I was like, I don't want Kevin to hate me if I put him on the spot. I should have. Honestly, a better reporter than me would have asked Kevin Feige that question. But I was just like, that's Spider-Man. How about that Spider-Man costume? Have you heard anything about Spider-Man lately? And then I just went home and cried.
Comic Book Jack, we need our own Gail Weathers, who's just not afraid to get up in Feige's face because we all are too big of fans. We don't want to make everybody.
We're all too nice.
Exactly. It's also you walk that line. It's well, if I ask this question and I get a scoop and I run it, am I going to be banned for? Sometimes it's is this an acceptable place to ask a question that might be on record? I don't know. Is there a place? Is there not? But there was a freaking Spider-Man costume, right? I felt like Austin Powers, and we're not supposed to talk about the Spider-Man, but there's a bloody Spider-Man staring me in the face right now. And then Tom Holland was on the stage that next day because he had to present Onward with Chris Pratt, and then he came out, oh, thank you very much, I love Spider-Man, and nobody said a word about it. Definitely not me. Anyway, yeah, Miles Morales probably coming to live action.
Aaron is our Nostradamus.
There we go.
So speaking of characters who may or may not be back in live action at some point, Chloe Zhao was asked by THR about an Eternal sequel. And she said, no comment. When you're in Marvel and you're dealing with an audience that big, I truly treasure and respect that each of us is so unique. It's exciting that we're all so different and we're all changing and growing every day. But with a global audience, it's almost impossible to make everybody perfectly happy. And to do that is to say that everyone is the same. So I think there's inevitably going to be that difference of opinion. And you just have to stay true to the kind of film you want to make, and who you are, and the people you're collaborating with. That's all you can do, really, and have a good time. Everything else is out of your control. So I know I said during our prediction show, I hope by the end of the year, we at least know where one Eternal is in MCU. Her comments don't necessarily give me comfort and give me assurance that that will happen, because who knows at this point? I have no idea. What do y'all think?
I like no comment. Here's 2 paragraphs worth of comments.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for Chloe because, like, you know, she won the Oscar for Best Director and Best Picture, and then she gets this huge Marvel film, and then, like, people didn't really dig it that much. And so it's like, if I were her, I'd be so over it. And so disinterested in having in like every single time, because she's such like a little weirdo, you know, she's like such a weird little artist who definitely doesn't want to be asked about Marvel for the rest of her life. You can just tell. So I hope that we get an answer just for her sake, so she can stop not answering questions with answers that aren't anything.
I don't know if there will be an outright Eternals 2. Like,
No.
I don't know. Like, it seems like the movie was so not well received that it seems unlikely. But then you look at the numbers it put up on Disney Plus, and so many people watched it that it's like, okay, well, maybe there will be an Eternals 2. But I don't think Chloe Zhao will direct it. I think they need a better director by any means or anything like that I'm saying. I just don't think Chloe Zhao had a good time. So I don't think she'll be back for Eternals 2 if there is an Eternals 2. I think Eternals 2, if it's even called that, takes a very different shape than the first movie. And I think it focuses on a smaller number of characters. But I definitely think that I personally believe Chloe won't come back. And I don't really think she should. If, like Jamie just said, if you're Chloe, go back to your Oscar movies and do things that give you a little bit more freedom and control, maybe. And it seems like she had pretty good freedom in the MCU, but I don't know. It just feels, I don't know. I'd be surprised if she came back for another one.
It's just weird to be at this point with the only cliffhanger MCU movie. Like, the one genuine cliffhanger that we have. We are now sitting here and we're like, well, this may or may not get resolved. Like, who knows? Aaron, what do you think?
I do hope that one day she can like get a definitive answer, but also it's funny that we're all asking like her about like this whole thing when it's probably not up to her. The way that things are quote unquote being restructured, I think Brandon's right. There will be some sort of follow-up. There probably won't be all of them. Who knows what like shape it's gonna take, but for sure it's silly that what is it? Has it been 2 years since has it been 2 years since Eternals?
Like
Time
a
is a flawed construct.
Yeah, it was
Jonathan
like
Majors screwing
October.
with stuff,
Yeah,
man.
so like a year and a half.
Okay, all right, yeah, and we still don't know. We have no idea. D23 or Comic-Con at the earliest that we'll know about any of this stuff. I just want to know if poor Kit Harington is all right, if he ever learned how to swing the sword. That's all I want. You know,
He's got to be in Blade. He's got to be in Blade.
I hope
gotta
so.
be in. You would think. I don't know. Watch like somebody we don't expect is in there, and it's not. It's She-Hulk.
Yeah.
She's like, haha.
It's Kamala.
Right, exactly.
Kamala just learns how to hunt vampires and just has the time of her life.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's great. Teen vampire stuff? Oh,
Jamie just got so happy.
What do you think we know first? This is brought from Damon Streams in the Twitch chat. Do you think we know the Fantastic Four cast first or the Fate of Eternal sequel?
Ooh.
FF.
I think so too. I think we hear
One of those
Fantastic
has
Four
to start production sooner than later, whereas like Eternals is not a guarantee. So I also am just hoping we get out of this hell of not knowing who's playing the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. All right, last topic here, and this is a very, very exciting topic here. Jamie.
All right. Well, Elizabeth Olsen was at South by Southwest promoting her new show, Love and Death, which I can't wait for. And so, of course, she got asked about the MCU. And so she's talking to Deadline, and Deadline says that this was specifically asking about Coven of Chaos. In the clip, Coven of Chaos is never mentioned, so we just have to believe that this is about Coven of Chaos. And Elizabeth Olsen just says, I don't know ever how to answer these questions, except I think I'll be back. Like, that was it. It was like, I don't, but then a pause. I think I'll be back. Like, if you read it, it sounds like she's saying, I don't think I'll be back, but she's definitely saying she thinks she'll be back. And the matter of like, okay, is it Coven of Chaos? It makes sense, obviously. 9 WandaVision actors are going to be in that show. It'd be crazy if she wasn't in it. But previously, she has said, I don't know, I'm not in it. I not that I know of. So now with this answer, I just wish that this specific clip that we could hear the name Coven of Chaos mentioned, because I think it's a little shady. Sorry, Deadline. That's just, we just have to believe that's what she's talking about. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think, yeah, I'm with you. It's like, okay, well, is this specifically talking about Coven of Chaos? I don't know, but it would make a ton of sense that she is back. Also, if you're Disney Plus and you're Marvel Studios and you're a good business manager, like, put her back on the thing that, you know, this is the biggest hype between WandaVision and Loki. Undoubtedly got the biggest hype for any of the Disney Plus releases, and they were. I think it helps they were 2 of the first 3, but people were talking about these shows, and they still talk about WandaVision relentlessly on social media. And I do think that, I don't know if the title Agatha Coven of Chaos is going to be enough to like reach out to the audience that might not be there right now, but Elizabeth Olsen in the marketing certainly will help. Also, Jamie, I got to tell you, when I was at South by for Dungeons and Dragons, the room key that I had, it was Love and Death, and it had Elizabeth Olsen's face on it. So I still have
it.
I still have. Yeah, you can have. I'll
I
next
do
time
want
I
that.
give it to you. It's got yeah. I figured
This is it.
you might like
She's
that.
getting that Emmy. It's going to be a WandaVision makeup Emmy, and she's going to win. And you've heard it here first. She's taking home the prize this year.
We're rooting for it. We're rooting for it. No more MCU snubs. We can't take him anymore. Yeah, when Elizabeth Olsen and Pedro Pascal were on the stage at the Oscars, it was like, this is why people are on Disney Plus, and they are about to conquer HBO Max together. Well, Pedro already did. The Last of Us. And also, thank you to everybody who listened to The Last of Pods. I've seen a couple reviews on the Apple Podcasts. A couple people said they followed from Phase Zero over to Last of Pods, and in 9 weeks, we've posted well beyond. We're still figuring out the number, but I know for fact it's well beyond 1 million listens and watches across like video platforms and podcast downloads, which is insane. So thank you so much for that. Also, huge thanks to Bella Ramsey, who came on the show and helped us like really take off. That was the real point. Like, it took till episode 8, but we really finally took off with that. But I want to thank everybody who followed us over to the Last of Pods. That was a ton of fun. We got to do with ET. And Ashcross, and I hopefully we're back for season 2. But thank you for that. Sorry to plug a different thing. I just remembered I wanted to thank everybody for that show. I mean, that's all we have to talk about today. I got a minute here. Jamie, any last words for today's Phase Zero?
Oh man, yeah, keep an eye out again for my Shazam review. Go see Scream 6. I'm obsessed with Scream 6. I've seen it twice. I love it so much.
I agree with Jamie. Please go see it.
Yes.
Richard from the rafters.
Yeah, that's watch Everything Ever All at Once, and if you haven't yet, form those opinions. Send all the good vibes that Angela Bassett is going to get a really juicy role in the next year, so that she can win an Oscar.
It's crazy now she can't win an Oscar for the MCU.
Ah, that's sad.
I hate that. Jenna.
As always, go read some comics. There's some really good ones this week. I wrote a long form review for Hellcat #1, which was absolutely phenomenal. If you've even not ever picked up a Hellcat comic, go read it. You'll fall in love with it. Just go read some comics and follow me on all the social medias at Hey Gentlemen.
Aaron, what you got for us to end today's show?
It's at Some Like Hornet. I like to say rest in peace to one Bobby Caldwell, honorary person we should have honored last month, but didn't get a chance to. If you get that joke, you're my people. Also, I would like to say that I hope that Viola Davis can get up on that stage for something next year, possibly after Woman King got shut out, which I could not believe after me and Ariel finally saw it on streaming, and we're like, why? Nothing? Not a thing? Not at all? Not okay. All right. Some people just don't. Lashana Lynch's biceps just don't do it for them. I am not those people.
Lashana Lynch in that movie changed me in a way.
Changed me. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into Phase Zero today. I highly recommend seeing Shazam Fury of the Gods this weekend. I really enjoyed that film. Jamie's full review will be up on comicbook.com later today. If you're listening to us in podcast form, chances are it's already available to read. John Wick 4 is a little over a week away. That's great. I haven't seen Scream 6 or Creed 3 yet, but Dungeons and Dragons is 2 weeks away. March has turned out to be a fantastic time at the movies. Luther Fallen Sun on Netflix is really dark and twisted. It's a pretty entertaining film. Idris Elba's great in that. So there's a lot of good movies to watch right now as we gear up for whatever the next Marvel release will be, if it's Guardians of the Galaxy or one of the Disney Plus shows. So thank you so much for listening to Phase Zero. Hit me up at Brandon Davis if you want to talk about what's that?
I was going to say, go watch BD talk to Chris Pine about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, there is an interview. We went to South by Southwest. You go to thecomicbook.com, or I think it's the Character Sheet YouTube channel is where you'll find that. Peter has been helping launch a D&D centric YouTube channel called The Character Sheet, which has become very successful, and they're crushing it over there, and a lot of D&D coverage will be featured over there. And I'm interviewing the cast of Dungeons and Dragons tomorrow. So if you guys have any questions for them, please send them my way. If you happen to be in the Nashville area, we might have a really cool screening of a really cool movie that I've already hyped up on the show, but I don't want to say anything with concrete information yet because as of right now, it's not confirmed, but it's looking really promising. So just make sure you're following on social because that'll be really cool and that'll be fun. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.